Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones, Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we stop to watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade waving goodbye to us. I'm Pete Mummert.
Bye. I'm Tom Taylor.
Well, I thought it was 1 minute at a time. Waving goodbye to us 1 minute at a time.
Yeah, I've kind of dropped to 1 minute at a time lately. I think people have gotten that.
Yeah, if people don't get it by now, boy, are they slow.
Yeah.
Well, they just cut to the chase already. Been doing this for
Fair
months.
enough. I'm Gerald Christopher, going straight to the top on this one. It's a grand finale. Saint Joseph.
Oh.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of on this one, yeah. And he protects against. Well, I don't know if I should. Well, I don't know if I. Maybe I shouldn't have. I get he protects.
Spit it out, man.
Well, he protects against hesitation. I didn't know. Yeah, I don't. Not sure I should have gone through with it. So I'm not sure why. I mean, I'm imagining because there's that whole remember Chris, or you remember this? Mary said yes to God one day. Mary said yes to God. What did Joseph has to do with it?
Joseph always got the shaft.
Yeah, he walks in the front door and he's like, ho, ho, ho. What, you got a bump?
Wait a minute.
What's going on now?
Honey, we need to talk.
Yes, we haven't.
Well, see, I think he got the opposite of the shaft because he didn't actually do anything, but he gets all this, he gets all this acclaim.
He's got statues.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Well, you can say he didn't do it. Yeah, he didn't do anything, all right.
Yeah.
He had to change all the diapers. Without any of the glory.
Yeah.
Without any of the fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, Porter.
Right.
And while this lovely movie is waving goodbye to us, I'm very happy that my personal, very favorite member of this podcast is waving hello to us, the professor, the legend, Dr. Christy Porter.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
It's the last time I say that to you. Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
But
No, it's not.
No.
no. Never
Hopefully
mind.
it's not.
Not even
guys.
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
And today we're going to be discussing minute 119. Minute 119 begins with Henry staring at the Grail Knight, and it ends with Indy asking, "What did you find, Dad?"
We keep talking about waving and waving goodbye. I don't think that there's a sadder, lonelier image in the entire movie than the knight waving goodbye. I can't shake the feeling that he's actually getting the shaft somehow. That he's actually that he's not just waving. He's like, I have something to tell, or oh, could you? If you're going past the supermarket, I need some bread and some cheese. Or just something. And then they leave. He kind of hangs his head. He's
Well,
like,
he doesn't just hang his head. It looks like he starts to sink to his knees. He's just despondent. It's like he starts to crumple. It's so sad.
So that's what it was like to have friends.
It's like his first human contact in 800 years. And they're just like, hey, what's up? We're out of here.
It is, but it's really, really sad.
Sorry about your cave.
He does. He gives him a "take me with you."
Yeah.
He totally does.
Yeah.
And then they're all don't look at me with those medieval puppy dog eyes.
Yeah.
Get back in your cage.
Well, how did he
Served your
think
purpose.
this was going to end? I mean, did he think he was going to leave?
You know what? We could talk about this for 5 hours, and we just might. I have no idea how. I have a whole long thing here about. Because this very well may end nicely for Indy and Henry.
Yeah.
But if I was the Grail Knight, exactly, Tommy, I'd be furious or pissed or sad or just an emotional wreck. I mean, he's guarded the Grail for 800 years, and this lion tamer shows up with a Johnny Gimme Grail and a Gertrude Nazi, and now the Cup of Christ falls to Earth's basement.
Right.
Like, what was the point of all this?
Do you archaeologists have any questions about life 800 years ago?
Yeah,
that's some stories I can tell you.
Anything you'd like to know?
Yeah, it's amazing that they want to get out of there so badly. Like this, talking to him would be literally the biggest deal in the history of archaeology.
Funny that didn't occur to them.
Yeah, they're just like, see ya.
Yeah.
And you know whose fault it is? Of course, it's Indy's. Like, Henry stops and he looks and he stops and he goes, like, Indy comes up and he goes, Dad. And he's like, come on, Dad, we got to go.
Yeah. Are you defeated this guy? I'm bored.
I already stole the idol.
Made him fall down on his behind.
Well, maybe it was an invitation. Maybe it was an invitation to Henry Sr. And Henry Sr.'s hesitating, and that's why St. Joseph was perfect.
Oh, very nice.
But is it an invitation to die?
No, it's an invitation to just stay with the Grail and talk about 800 years ago. I don't know what it's an invitation to. What would he be inviting him to?
I liked it. I like that, though. I hadn't thought of it as an invitation. I like that. Why doesn't Henry wave back, though? Like, he just stares. He doesn't make any kind of gesture back other than just a stare, that kind of gawk at him.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's thinking.
Doesn't even wave.
No.
Yeah.
Well, he is. He's deep in thought, and that's what's very interesting. Indy comes up and disrupts him, and is like, "We got to get out of here. Leave the old man alone." But what I can't put together is this is going to drive me nuts. My head is splitting like that cave. If you can't leave with the Grail, what's the point of guarding it?
Yeah, even if Indy had taken over the job of Grail Knight. Yeah,
I never ever thought about that.
That was great. I totally cold cock Pete. It's really hard to do.
Never ever crossed my mind. I absolutely love that. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of guarding something that can never leave?
Right.
Yeah, and they throw that in as like a last minute thought. Oh, by the way.
I forget if we said this or not, but do you think because that we've all said that it's such a last minute, and subparagraph C, the place isn't, you're not allowed to take the Grail out of here. But is that, is that totally thrown in because everybody kind of looked at each other in the writer's room and was like, oh, wait a minute, is Indiana Jones immortal now?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And what would they do with it? Are we going to put it in the warehouse? Or are we going to Fourth Floor Geology Museum at Cal State Barnett?
He got the Ark of the Covenant. Why can't he get the Grail?
Well, so I wondered, but here's what's fascinating. Think about the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
What happens to the Ark? Okay. What happens to the Ark? It's put away, it's locked away for good, and you're like, okay, so in a way, man-made wise, right? Mm-hmm. It's under wraps, and it's been put that way via men or people. Let's say, the government. But here at the Grail, and this is really splitting my face here in half, you're like, okay, so the Grail is going to be hidden forever, but it's because Yahweh set it up this way.
Yes, what you said about it not needing a guard makes me think that it wasn't Jehovah's idea that the Grail Knight is here guarding it. It was just entirely his idea.
Which we flirted with the whole time.
He's kind of giving himself a job. And he's kind of...
Yeah, he gave himself a job.
Yeah.
He probably had several promotions as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm employee of the month.
Yeah, he started out at
at the parking space.
the bouncer for the cave. Worked his way up.
His own version of Farmville.
Yeah. But if that's what's so crazy, you're like, so could you? It's obviously a supernatural thing that you can't cross the seal. So once again, you're like, God put this thing on Earth, and he left it there, and he had no intention for anyone to ever do anything with it outside of just visiting it in this one cave room.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and you're like, no, and that's...
Let me ask you this. How do they even know that? How do they even know that it can't cross the seal? It's not like it came with instructions. It's like a little manual.
Unless this happened once before and they had to rebuild it all. Maybe that's when he built all the traps.
the third
he was
cave
rebuilding it.
Annoying.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that it's as you said, Tommy, it's like all in the fine print.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like zero.
You know what they should do is they should build a retirement home here. And then if you're like a hospice home kind of thing, but then once you check in, like you can never leave, but
Like
you'll never
Hotel
die.
California hospice.
Yeah.
Hospice California, for instance.
You're a capitalist pig, Peter.
Well, I didn't say you charge for it. I just said this would be a nice.
Well, you're still a capitalist
so
pig. Even way.
Yeah, you're still like.
How dare you want to share eternal life with the masses?
Well, it'd be like, the problem is we know how this would go. What starts out as a wonderful little miracle village, like Lourdes in France. Now all of a sudden it's like everybody lives forever, but it's overcrowded.
Oh, yeah.
And there's everybody has dysentery, but they live
bad.
forever.
Yeah.
Smells bad.
Like
They're all
remote's
crammed
broken,
in.
and like Frank will never change the channel off of Fox News. And
Exactly. You can't get rid of anybody.
They have the same 20 VHS tapes for like the last 800 years.
Jeez.
I guess so. If we have no idea, like, what the hell's going on, or why the Grail's there, or what the point of it was there, why it was there, it just begs the question, or calls to mind here. Sorry, John Brode. Was the entire 2,000-year-old Grail legend just so Indy and his dad can reconcile?
that's basically all it's accomplished on Earth for the last 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all it's accomplished on Earth for the last 1,000 years.
That's like the saddest thing I've ever heard. That's ridiculous.
Well, maybe that's why the knight is, slinking
So
away.
sad. Aw.
He's like, that's all. That's the end of this whole thing. How is it supposed to go for him?
Yeah. What kind of endings did he imagine? Like, was he going to walk out? Somebody was going to take over for him, and he was going to walk out into the sunlight?
Maybe that, or maybe he thought somebody would say thank you.
Oh.
Wouldn't that have been nice? I just sort of assumed after all this time.
I could take my chainmail off.
I was told it'd be cake.
I'm not wearing the helmet. I'm not in an aggressive stance.
So what happens to the knight? Does he die, or does he keep living forever?
Oh, Pete.
Why? That's an obvious answer, Pete.
Well,
That's
no,
stupid,
no,
or is
that's
that
even sadder. I thought we had reached sad, but no, that's really, really sad.
I would like to think that he goes off to his eternal reward or something finally.
Yeah.
He gets to give up the ghost and stuff. But I mean, I guess since the Grail is still technically around, so does he still have to guard it? And like Indy never took up the mantle of Grail Knight, so is he stuck there still? I don't know.
Well, and you said like he goes to his eternal reward, and you're like, but he's already at eternal.
Yeah, gee.
So
not much of a reward then.
I guess now it's the reward time, but like if you live forever, is it ever Michelob time?
Doesn't seem like it.
I know. I don't.
Well, so we've never figured out, like, do you have to keep drinking from the Grail to keep living, or does the fact that the Grail hasn't crossed the seal mean you keep living, in which case he will die no matter what he does? Or like if he kind of climbs down and gets it and drinks out of it again, will he keep living?
And why would he want to do that?
Yeah, really.
Sounds like kind of annoying.
It seems like the tone of the movie makes it seem like his job is done. Like his job of guarding the Grail is over. But
That was the stupidest job in the world if it's over.
It is. I mean, it really is. And then, like, is it over because is the Grail, since it crossed the seal, is it considered to just be like a little, whatever it's made out of, cup?
Just a cup? Yeah. Like, can someone just come pick it up now? And
gosh.
Hey.
God, I really got you, Pete, didn't I? I finally took 119 minutes now. Well, you imagine from his point of view, he's sitting there reading for the 1383rd time.
His own life story, we learned.
His own life story. Yeah. He's sitting there, and all of a sudden this guy comes in a leather jacket, and he's like, oh, my God, it's you. That's awesome. And then this woman comes in with this guy who's kind of a one-note suit guy. Who has no accent piece. Nope. And he's, like I said, he's Johnny Grabby Grail. And he's like, give it to me. Which one's the Grail? And then within literally 2 minutes, the whole thing just sort of takes place. And the woman goes, come on, let's get out of here. And she crosses the seal. And he's like, are you serious? This is how it ends? I just told her you can't cross the seal.
Off she goes.
And no one's taking over.
Oh, my God, Jerry. You know what this is? This is the Pig Man.
Oh,
it's the Pig Man.
No.
It's the Pig Man.
Oh, my God.
It is the Pig Man.
These young punks come to this old guy's house, and they just wreck everything.
And he's so sad.
Jerks.
Mr. Pignetti.
Oh, my
and
God.
And the Grail Knight's wife is dead. Oh. And they throw a party in the Grail Temple. Oh, it's horrible. And they smash this one thing of,
There's just that one cup I sure hope nobody ruins in any way. A little important to me.
They smash his pig statue.
Oh, my God.
And you know what happens? Remember at the end of the Pig Man? Spoilers. They never see Mr. Pignetti ever again.
No, he just waves and fades away and sinks to his knees, and that's it.
He dies like a poetic death. That's like the saddest thing on earth.
Why would anybody make children read that? That was awful.
Oh, my God. I said that at the end of every book I read in middle school and high school for school.
Well, yeah.
True. You guys, remember where the red fern grows?
Oh, God.
No, I skipped that one.
And the kid is holding the dog's entrails in his hands.
All right, Jer. You just settle down over there.
That's the worst thing. It's awful. I cried. And I was sitting there going, how can I be a man if I'm crying reading the book?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I felt that. I actually cried. I'll never forget. It was 10:30 at night. I'm in 7th grade, and I'm weeping in my bed going, I feel funny. I mean, I'm glad no kids are here to see me crying. Reading Where the Red Fern Grows.
Yeah. Like Lord of the Flies, you throw it across the room so you can keep reading like Pet Sematary instead. And cheer yourself up.
Lord of the Flies.
Well, speaking of crying, do you think that Indy and Henry tell anybody about the temple that could come and like offer some company or some help to the knight? Or do you think they're just like, they'd never think about him again?
They really skedaddled pretty quickly. I don't think they know if he's alive or dead.
Yeah.
Or I don't think they care.
I don't think they care.
No, they don't. To be honest, they don't care about any of this stuff. Like, for instance, Elsa falls, I don't know, it's possible 12 feet?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even. Yeah, I mean, like
that's a good point. Like, no one climbs down to see if maybe she's okay. Like, maybe she's
even calls down,
slightly injured.
Or even
Elsa.
Yeah. Honey.
Yeah.
Honey. You okay? I got your glove.
You're just. I'm just stunned. Is all.
We do see right when the Grail Knight, says his goodbyes. You see that the knight statue crumbles. Yeah. So I think he has a type of there's sort of a symbolic death right there. Or at least a passing on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like this world has ended.
Right. Yeah. There's a little less God in the world now. It's dead. Thanks, Indy.
Well, it's a little deeper in the world. Actually,
I guess so. Yeah. It's harder to find now.
Mm-hmm. That's also the last core group of friends we see in an Indiana Jones movie in the original trilogy.
Oh,
what do you mean?
Wow. Now I'm sad.
Wait, say that again.
Well, because these movies were originally created as a trilogy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And the knight is the last guy they come across. So from here on out,
I see. Oh, okay.
It's just Indy and his dad and the friends.
Yeah, all of our buddies.
Yeah, he's kind of our last outsider we see.
So does it work as the final?
Yeah, I think the
to a point. We'll get there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But we do have. I mean, we've got more mirroring. You know, the temple collapses. The sounds are the same as when they're in the well of the souls in Tanis, when the statue falls at the end.
Oh yeah.
And then it's very similar to what happened when he was with Satipo, except there, when he tried to help Satipo, he got into trouble, and here when he tries to help his dad, everything ends quite differently.
Yeah. I'm impressed they were able to use. It seems like they got like crazy smoke machines going as they're running out of the temple, and I'm like,
yeah.
Is UNESCO cool with that? Like, did they get all the papers filed and everything?
I think it's 1989. You could do what you wanted.
Yeah,
maybe.
You could actually.
Yeah.
But that shot, I think, is one of the keys to Spielberg's filmmaking. Because it's one of the most beautiful shots in any of his movies, when they run out and there are these two tiny figures that come running out of the temple, and they're absolutely dwarfed by it, and the smoke is bigger than they are, everything's bigger, and it's kind of Spielberg showing you like the wonder of the universe and how small you are in relation to it. But then he shows compassion, and he takes these beautiful two cuts that each cut gets closer to them, and by the last cut they're kind of back to our own human scale. And we realize that their story is just as important as the grand wonder, which is it's nice. I think that's kind of the way Spielberg tells stories, and I think that's kind of Close Encounters, E.T. They all sort of follow this same pattern.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great, actually. Yeah, you're right. And in that shot, I saw the smoke billowing out of the temple, and it reminded me of the Yahweh boil and toil clouds that puff out of the ark.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's
the
almost
Gary
the Playtex
same
specials.
The Gary, yeah, that's right. You know what? Explain this to me. Like Elsa's, Henry says Elsa never really believed in the Grail. She thought she found a prize. So if that's true, right now is there a Jovito saying?
Yeah.
Indy never believed in the idol. He thought he found a prize. And so I what's the difference between Indy absconding with the idol and Elsa doing the exact same thing? And I'm wondering, is the answer, truly a monotheistic, I am the Lord your God, thou shalt not, have false idols? Is that just it?
No, I think
might
the answer
be a little
is that Indy also used to have this exact same way of thinking, that he had found that everything he was looking for was just a prize, including the Ark of the Covenant. But because he's been transformed in this final act of the trilogy, that's no longer his thinking. And so in that sense, Indy finally has found what he wants, because this is the first one he gets to keep, and that's his dad. This is the first of anything he's gone after that he gets to keep.
Whoa.
Although if you read the comic books, doesn't he get the idol back at some point or something?
I hate that.
But I have a weirder question.
Wait a minute.
About this moment, though.
Wait a minute. Yeah, that's. I need a minute. That's pretty good.
That's
So
very
this
good.
was. He went to. I mean, what he was trying to find the whole time was essentially the relationship with his father, and this one he gets
Right.
to
His
keep.
actual father.
Yeah.
And everything else his dad is explaining is exactly the way Indy was thinking. He thought he'd found a prize, but he never really believed in it.
Right.
So does that mean that when Indy's standing here and he's looking at the billowing smoke and looking at the temple, is he actually, the way it reads, it's like Henry is like, oh, don't worry about Elsa. I know you feel bad about your dead girlfriend or whatever she was, but don't, you don't have to feel bad because she was rotten. She didn't want the Grail for the right reasons and stuff.
And then Indy's like, I didn't feel bad. It's okay.
Yeah, what? There's something of my own. Yeah.
See, what's funny is that entire scene right there is just as confusing as their entire relationship.
Yep.
Like, I can't tell, is in that moment as he's looking back at the temple with all the destruction and, it's all settling, is he mourning Elsa?
No, Elsa doesn't appear. She disappears into the earth, and then nobody ever thinks of her again.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Henry's talking about her right now. I
Yeah.
don't know. It is. I mean, that's the same question I had, though, Jerry. It's
not mournfully,
he just met an 800-year-old knight. He drank from the cup of Christ, and is he really just standing there thinking like, "Oh, Elsa, there was that one time where you're in that kind of flimsy robe in Venice. Oh, you acted like you were mad, but you weren't."
I don't understand how you would any of these four gentlemen standing here would be able to do anything but just kind of sink to their knees outside of this place and just realize this is the most holy place on earth. I'm just gonna stay here for days and I can't leave here. Like this is an incredible place. And all of them are just like, well, see ya.
Yep. That's the way Pete would have directed it.
Well, and also if the temple, see, I had a question.
That makes a bad movie though if they stay.
It does.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, a little reverence couldn't hurt.
A little bit.
Like, I wondered, once you get the Grail, like if you go in there and you get the Grail, would it be possible to sprint out of the temple as fast as you can before it collapses? Or would you be perpetually chased by calamity and ruination?
I think you might be able to keep it, but you would nullify any eternal life you might have gained. And yeah, it would just be
I'm imagining him getting on the horse and like the canyon is starting to fall behind him and they get to the airport and the planes are crashing around him.
That's why I was asking if you could Joe Namath it. Like if you could just kind of wing it outside of the temple and then someone catches it. Yeah. Are they home free or is it going to, whoever has it, the possession of it, if they've taken it outside the temple, is it going to chase them?
So I see that Vogel did not really think this through. Right?
Well, I don't know who, or Joseph of Arimathea, I don't know who. None of them really did. How important is the seal? When was the seal activated?
Yeah, and who activated it?
Who activated
it? Did Joseph of Arimathea activate it? Did the knight? Did God? Like whose idea was it that we're going to keep it locked up here?
Does the cup of Christ only work in that 100-yard radius?
What's the perimeter?
What's the perimeter of it? And if that's true, when did it? I mean, when they were taking the Grail from Jerusalem originally, was it potent then?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, would it be even more potent if you took it back to Jerusalem?
Yeah, why was it here?
Yeah, what's it doing here? That's a good question. Yeah,
that not crossing the seal thing confuses everything.
Yeah,
that's really weird. And I do kind of feel in my guts that it's like we have to make it so that somehow Indiana Jones is not immortal because we can't quite handle that. We wouldn't know what to do with that.
And I think it makes for a great cinema. Like I think it makes for a great movie to have You Can't Cross the Seal. It just doesn't make sense if you stop and think about it.
Yeah.
Well, then we better not think about it.
Let's move along. I will say that this movie has something in common with the ending of Temple of Doom that Raiders doesn't have, and not in a good. They both feel like the end of a TV show. Like there's a very big sense of like, well, we solved the case of the missing Grail, and what do we learn about ourselves, Dad? We learned a little something about ourselves.
I 1000% disagree with you there.
Yeah,
it's right there. Like literally, you're saying like, well, we've learned something from our adventures. And now some scenes from next week's show.
That's the key to the whole trilogy.
Right, here comes Grossman. Tripping on his
here comes Grossman. Grossman, get your foot out of the pie. Oh my God.
I mean, I know what you're saying. There's actual stuff going on here, but the tone of it is very, let's wrap it up.
Well, yeah, it's
right off into
rushed.
the sunset pretty soon.
It's quite rushed.
I don't get that.
I can split this down the middle. Pete, if you're a thoughtful, kind, compassionate, deep thinker like you, then yes, you're absolutely right. And you you summarized the ending of this movie beautifully. Like it's the one thing Indy gets to keep. And you're like, and Tommy, if you're a chips loving,
let's wrap it up fast.
Cretin, yeah, you're absolutely, a TV watching '70s $6 Million Man Scooby Doo fan. you are absolutely right. It is like that. Both are true. Yeah. Because it's ridiculous that they see an 800-year-old knight, and and they're kind of like, oh, hoo, hoo, hoo. you know, and then, it's just like, well, it actually feels like it's Michelob time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Folks at home are never going to believe this.
Yeah.
But it's like before they do, they're going to stop at some little thing. Like if there's a scene after this, it's going to be like Indy and like Henry at a bar and like Sala. And it's they're all just sitting around a table with like one of them's got his feet up and they're all drinking cold ones. Like, just kind of.
It's the shawarma scene from Avengers.
Yeah. They're like a little bit buzzed.
Yeah.
Remember the time? And then Donovan, he aged right in front of my face. I'm going to get some beer nuts. It's just, it has that vibe to it.
Yeah.
That'd be a good, I think that'd be a good poll question on the Crusade. Is, how do people see the ending? Do they think it's...
Yeah.
Which
I don't think you're wrong, Pete. I think Jer's right that both are going on at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some element of what you're saying too, but I don't like to see it. I don't want to see it.
Right. Well, what's interesting is when we talk about the ending of Raiders, is it happy? Is the ending of Raiders happy? Now, we all feel good at the ending of this one, and that's great. But forget the Henry Indy business. Archaeologically, is this a happy ending?
No, this is
no.
This is the least happy possible ending you could have.
Yeah.
So
I want to know. Well, first of all, we don't know where the Grail is. It falls like
6 feet.
Yeah, 6 feet, and
or not even like 2
assume
feet. It falls like 2 feet.
Yeah,
because
it
Indy
falls
can
like
almost
2
reach
feet.
it.
And
yeah,
I'm wondering, like, thinking of the end of Raiders, does it fall down the crack, or is it swallowed up by the earth? And like underneath the temple, there's some huge warehouse where Yahweh just keeps all this stuff for safekeeping. Like he's got like Jesus's first rattle.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The first broken 10 Commandments. Pete, didn't they have the original 10 Commandments, and they had to Moses had to go get him a second time because he smashed them.
Yeah.
And you know where they went, Jerry?
They
went to the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I wouldn't maybe Yahweh's first planet.
Well, what's weird is they everyone's been wondering where's the Holy Grail, and now these guys actually know within 100 yards exactly where the Holy Grail is. So it wouldn't be impossible for people to go in there with bulldozers and just find it.
Yeah,
just get it. Somebody could get it now. It's right there.
But it is on the other side of the seal, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Is the seal?
You mean the wrong side?
I feel like it's all defunct now.
Yeah.
I feel like all the seal and the Grail's power and everything are all just kind of fizzled out now or something.
But also now that it's no longer in its original context, if someone does show up, they're just going to be like, "Oh, it's a cup. How do I know this is the Grail? How do I?"
Right, but they'll spin it and be like, "Hey, I got it.
Yeah,
I got the last."
There'll be a National Geographic episode.
Right.
Well, you get it close enough.
It'll be the new Shroud of Turin or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the Holy Grail? Oh my gosh.
No, I don't know, because there are all those other Grails. All those other Grails would be there too. God. And there's no one to point them to the right one or say,
Well, true.
That's a good
would those still kill you if you went and drunk out of one of the wrong ones now?
I don't know.
Didn't kill Elsa.
Wow.
Or whoever. Oh, it did. Sorry.
It did. Yeah.
Oops. Sorry. Yeah. Well, I don't know why, Tommy, tell me why you think that everything is it's offline now that it's on the wrong side of the seal.
I guess it all feels like it's been triggered. It is, and that's not a small thing, but it feels. I mean, because there was a rule about it not crossing the seal, and then it did cross the seal, and there was a big explosion, everything fell down and went boom, and everything crumbled. It feels and it's also just by the movie. It's just sort of left. It's ignored by the movie. The movie just sort of leaves it in a crack and doesn't really work. It's not even like you see it fall dramatically into the depths below or something. It's just left on the ledge.
12 feet and hits Elsa in the head.
So it feels like it's just a kind of done thing now. And yes, it would still be like, wow, this is the cup that Christ drank out of. This is from the Last Supper. Oh my gosh. But it might not have any power, quote unquote powers. It might not, you might not ruin anything by taking it further out of the temple or anything like that. It just feels like that aspect of it is kind of turned off now.
Well, it does raise an interesting question. what if we're not going to learn anything from it, like from an historical context, and if it doesn't have any power anymore, like what is it good for? Like, is it just magical thinking to think, well, this was in proximity to Christ, therefore this has great value, or is it just a cup?
Well, it's like people who pay millions of dollars for Action Comics #1 or
right.
something.
Right,
like
right.
A,
yeah, it's the
nearly
same question.
copy of it.
Yeah. Or like a strand of Marilyn Monroe's hair, or a piece, the button from Abe Lincoln's
Fonzie's
vest.
jacket.
We know that the Arthurian legends and the Grail is very important and very compelling storyline. Does any other story of the Grail ask that question and answer that question? Like, what happens next?
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there Batman? So Batman did this, and Bugs Bunny. Really? Right? Monty Python.
I like where you're. Yeah, I like where you're going.
Wait, did Batman and Bugs Bunny find the Holy Grail?
Well, no, but they were in the
Was it a team up?
So Batman did.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Batman did something.
That's true.
And Monty Python
Now I'm with you.
went looking for the Grail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
But nobody thinks, well, maybe it's not all that. Maybe it's a.
I think in most of those stories, though, like it ends up not being an object. It's like an idea. It's like a symbol of the king or of whatever, of like England, or right.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I think the answer is a director's choice. We don't know what happens to the Grail, and we don't see what happens to the Grail because it's not important.
Right, because that's not, or at least that's not the important thing of the movie. Yeah.
And it hasn't been important this entire time. At least not Indiana Jones, who's our hero.
That's true.
But I mean, that's cool. That it hasn't been important.
I mean, if you view it that way, you're like, well, of course, it's kind of that's the ultimate switcheroo. We've been saying this entire time the directors have these switcheroos from the very beginning, where you think it's cavalry and it's Boy Scouts. Right? And that type of stunt. I mean, in a way, here you think it's kind of they pull the rug out from everybody, Indy and also the audience. You're like, and that's why it doesn't matter what happens to the Grail, because it's actually not important. Yeah. Which is its own kind of Buddhist thing in a way.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's because everybody's so desirous. Right. Yeah, they're coveting everything, and and it does have a bit of a Buddhist thing. You're like, no, the only thing we have are relationships in the present.
Right. Yeah, I like that a lot.
You didn't know that about me, Chris, or did you? I could get deep here and there.
It seems like kind of an accident, but all right, we'll go with it.
Well, speaking of getting deep, any other last-minute thoughts, or any other last-minute relatives? Or
wait a minute, last-minute relatives. There is something coming in over the wires. It's a real big one. This just in from the largest Billy Goat Gruff, the one who built her house out of pigs. No. Right. Did Henry always know that Elsa didn't believe, or was there a specific event that changed his mind? And by the way, that's supposed to be Mimi Porter, Esquire. Yeah. She wrote in. Larger sister.
I guess he was soured on her since he found out she was a Nazi, and then since then he's just been observing her actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't been on the whole Elsa train, really.
Yeah.
Like Indy has.
Yeah.
Almost as if it's an afterthought in the script. What? Oh.
Or like, yeah. Well, he says, 2 ships passing in the night.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of it. But I wondered if he didn't think that, like when he showed up in Venice originally and got hired on, and he's working with Elsa, and she's working under Henry, is he kind of like, nah, Elsa really doesn't get it. She doesn't understand. Right. She's just looking for the prize. But what's so strange is, and then why do we exonerate Henry? Because he seems to be just as, in a way, maybe just as greedy. I guess he is as greedy as Elsa up until the last 7 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also weird that he's rewarded for being cold and distant and not really developing a relationship with Elsa.
Yeah.
And that's why he's able to see her clearly. Whereas that is what did not allow him to see his son clearly.
Oh. Pete,
yeah, but his son's not
fire.
a dame. A backstabbing skirt.
Pete is on fire, yeah.
No, literally, I'm on fire.
Oh,
Pete, okay? Stop, drop, and roll.
Well, any last thoughts?
Yeah, what did you find, Dad? It's my last thought. What's Henry going to say? Indy says, what did you find, Dad?
He's going to say one of the best lines in the history of cinema, is my guess.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now I got to come back tomorrow.
Well, yeah. No, but I'd follow Pete anywhere, so.
Hey, all right. Well, hopefully you'll follow me back tomorrow, even though you said you would never, you were saying your last goodbye.
All right, I'll come back.
All right. And everybody else, please, you all come back as well, because Christy's going to be here, and it just wouldn't be the same without all of you. Yes, I'm talking to you. Tomorrow, for minute 120 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
I ordered a pizza. You guys could hang and, we could, whatever.
Was it something I said?
I never got to tell you I loved you.
Wait a minute. I'm a minstrel. I can sing.
I have my lute.
Who wants to know about the Second Crusade? I was there.